All right, guys, welcome back here. Today we are moving on. We're moving away from the themes of geography and into kind of the nuts and bolts, of what most people think geography is. Okay, this year we're going to talk a lot about cultures of countries and why countries are the way that they are. This is kind of like how to read maps and things like that. You need that basic skill set to be successful in this class, and so we're going to talk about all of that today, so that you know what you're doing moving forward here. Okay, so first we're going to start off nice and simple. Okay, a map maker is called a cartographer, and there's two different kinds of maps. There's a globe, which is your 3D sphere. Hopefully, all of us have seen that, kind of like this up here or that up there. And then you have your map, which is your 2D picture. It's kind of a stretched out. A map is a 2D drawing or picture of multiple locations. So you can kind of see the map up above me in the corner there. Okay. When you make maps, you engage in something called projection. Okay. So when you take a globe, we know that the Earth is round. All you Flat Earth Society people, you are not correct. We know that the Earth is round. And it's a sphere. So when you make a map, you have to make that sphere into a flat 2D shape. Okay, and when you do that, things change in size, and that's called distortion. Okay, they change in size and shape because they're no longer on that spherical 3D shape. Okay, so that's called distortion, and that happens when you make a map. It's why you have a map scale. Okay, at the bottom you always see 1 inch to a certain number of kilometers or anything like that. Obviously, it changes from a sphere to a map. That key or that scale changes, and that's called distortion. Um, our globe has four hemispheres. Okay, we have the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. We have the western hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere. Okay, you can see here that the shaded region is each of the hemispheres. So northern is this part, southern is this part, western is here, eastern is here. Okay, you could have northwestern, which would be this upper quadrant. You could have southwestern, northeastern, and southeastern. Okay, but these are the four hemispheres. Okay, you can combine them to make a few more, but those are the four main hemispheres in our world. Okay, how do we find locations on a map? Okay, we find locations on a map through latitude and longitude. Okay, latitude. Those are our parallel lines that you see on a map. That is latitude. Lat is flat, is a way that I was always taught how to remember latitude. If you have a better way, I'm all for it. But lat is flat. It's those flat lines that look like that. They're the horizontal lines here. These red ones that run. They run from east to west. Okay, they run this way, the flat way. Okay. However, they measure distances north and south of the equator. Okay, this is always something that kids struggle with, so I want to make it as clear as I can. Um, the lines go from east to west, but as you can see here, the equator is right here, and this line is north of that line. Okay, it's not east or west, it's north, it's up. Okay, or it's down, it's south. Okay, this line is down, it's south. So they measure north and south. That's why you see 23.5 north and 23.5 south. But they run east and west. They measure north and south of the equator. Okay, that is going to be on your test. It is going to be on your quiz. You need to remember that. They measure north and south, but they run east and west. Longitude. Okay, longitudinal lines are our long lines. Okay, they run up and down. Longitude or long is the long way. That's how I've always remembered it. Okay, and they are vertical lines. Okay, they go up and down. So they run north to south, but they measure east and west. You can see that by our picture here. Our lines of longitude are running up and down, but they measure things east and west of the prime meridian. The prime meridian is this line right here. The equator cuts the world in half this way, so it's a line of longitude, or I mean, it's a line of latitude. I'm sorry. The equator cuts the earth in half this way, so it's a line of latitude. The prime meridian is a line of longitude, and it cuts the earth in half this way, and it's a line of longitude. So everything goes east and west of there if you're a longitudinal line. You measure, okay, it's 25 degrees west of the prime meridian, or 25 degrees east of the prime meridian, or 40 degrees east, okay, because that's, if you look at this, this is east and that's west of that line, okay. Again, you got to know which way they measure, and if they're vertical or horizontal lines. Okay, that's going to be on your test. It's really important. Again, here is a written description of what I just described to you. The equator is a line of latitude because it's a horizontal line that divides the world into northern and southern hemispheres. Okay, if we go back, the equator is right here. It cuts the world exactly in half, and we've got the north up here, we've got the south up here. Okay, that's where this line is. That's the equator. Okay, cuts the world in half into the northern and southern hemispheres. The prime meridian is a vertical line, therefore it is a line of longitude, the long way, and it divides the world into the eastern and western hemispheres. Okay, you can see the prime meridian right here. We've got the western hemisphere, the eastern hemisphere. Prime meridian, western hemisphere, eastern hemisphere. Okay, again, really important to know there. Um, in the United States, as far as United States geography goes and our basic skills, there are 4 time zones in the United States. Okay, we've got Eastern Time, Central Time, Mountain Time, and Pacific Time. Okay, Eastern Time is 1 hour. We're in the Central Time Zone. Okay, obviously you can see Minnesota there in Minneapolis. From Central Time, the East is 1 hour ahead, the Mountain is 1 hour behind, and the Pacific is 2 hours behind us. Okay, so if it is 2:37 right now. Okay, in the Central Time Zone, it's 3:37 in the East, it's 1:37 in the Mountain Time Zone, and it's 12:37 in the Pacific Time Zone. Okay, from the Central Time Zone, you go one in the East, one ahead in the East, one behind in the Mountain, and two behind in the Pacific, which would make, if in the Eastern Time Zone, Central's one back, Mountain's two back, Pacific's three back. Okay, it's important when you're looking at TV shows and their scheduled times. The world time zones, there are 24. Okay, one for each hour of the day, and you can kind of see how they're split up there. There are 24 different time zones in the world, and so each one of these zones is on a different clock. We've got the tropics, okay? The Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, those are 2 lines of latitude that divide our Earth even more. And you can see they're at 25 degrees south is the Tropic of Capricorn, and 23.5 degrees north is the Tropic of Cancer. On our globe, we've got the Arctic and Antarctic circles. The Arctic Circle is at the very northmost part of our globe, and the Antarctic Circle is at the very southern tip of our globe. Scale, okay, scale. Scale. The definition of a scale is the relationship between a distance on a map and the actual distance on Earth. Okay. Again, we talked about this a little earlier. Hopefully, you're a little bit familiar with this. But a scale on a map, for example, would be 1 inch on the map might represent 100 miles. So the relationship between the distance on a map, which is only 1 inch, right? You can't have a map. The United States is 3,000 some odd miles long, okay, from coast to coast. It might actually be more like 5,000. I'm not sure. But you can't make a map that is that big, right? You cannot do that. So you've got to shrink it down and distort it, okay, like we talked about, and then have a scale. So 1 inch on the map equals 1,000 miles or 100 miles or whatever it may be, so that you can give people a reference of how far something is away. Okay. A small scale is 1 inch equals a large area. A large scale is 1 inch equals 1 mile. Okay, so the smaller the number here, the larger the scale. The bigger the number, the smaller the scale. I know that's opposite, but that's just how it works. Let's see. The different types of maps. Okay, We have a lot of different um, types of maps. We have a political map here, which shows the boundaries of different places. We have a physical map here, which shows the landforms within an area. Another political map here, a thematic map, which shows us a theme of some sort. This theme is world climate. Okay. We have a road map, obviously, which shows us the different interstates or major highways or roads within a state. And then again, another thematic map here because the theme is earthquakes. Um, so those are our different types of maps. Okay, going back here, we have direction. Okay, direction, and this maybe should have been moved to the front, and that's my fault. But we have our compass here. Okay, and you need to know the directions. Okay, that's just a really good life skill to know. Okay, north points up, east points this way, south points that way, west points that way. Okay. Never eat soggy waffles. So if you're staring at a map and you're looking at it square on of the United States, Minnesota is in the north, Florida and New York are in the east, Texas and Arizona are in the south, and California and Oregon and the state of Washington are in the west. Okay. So you got the north, Minnesota, you got the east. I know you're looking at it backwards. The east is New York and that, South Texas, West California. Never eat soggy waffles. If you read it like a book, that makes sense, right? You read a book right to left or clockwise. I'm sorry, you read a book left to right or clockwise. That's my fault. So you start here and you go to the right. That's clockwise. Never eat soggy waffles. Okay, you need to know those directions. Um, Back here, okay, this should be it for us today. All right. The tools we use nowadays to help with maps. Maps have really improved. Obviously, we've got GPS, which is it uses the satellites to determine your exact location on Earth. It's used for navigation and things like that. That's GPS. GIS is what we more commonly use. Okay, that's computerized maps. That's the Google Maps on your phone or the Apple Maps app that's on your phone that takes you from point A to point B. A lot of people call that GPS, and using the two directionals is GPS, but the actual mapping app and the fact that you can see any location, that's GIS. That's a computerized map. And a lot of you kind of addressed it um, in your why is geography important. Most kids, and myself included, like when I have to go somewhere I haven't been before, I don't look at a map. I ask for the address. I plug it in my Apple Maps, and that blue line takes me wherever I want. Okay, but it's a really important skill to know how to read a map, how to read directions, how to know the compass rose, the time zones with the United States. That was all things that are important for you to know as a successful human being in our society. Okay, and so um, hopefully after this, you know a little bit more about how to read a map, the different types of maps, and how today's maps are used. Okay, make sure you fill out that note sheet as you were watching here, and then you've got a quiz today as well as another worksheet that kind of summarizes that uses your knowledge here and puts it to the test a little bit. Okay, let me know if you have questions and have a great rest of your day.